This day it's been long overdue, to be honest. Not a week goes by where I'm not asked to talk about what the industry is saying, or be actually on a podcast myself. So I've spent 20 years placing technology professionals in and across Wales. My name's David Sadler, and I run Sadler Recruitment. I sit in the middle of this industry every single day, talking to CTOs, heads of engineering, founders, and people trying to hire. What I'm seeing in technology is a gap, a real one, behind what people are saying on the outside and what is actually happening in businesses in Wales. People are becoming stretched. AI movement. AI has shifted how developers are working. Is the role of the CTO changing? Is that merging with a CEO? There's lots of questions out there, and I get asked all the time to talk about it. So here we are. I've decided to run this. I'm not a tech vendor. I'm not selling anything. I'm very, very interested in talking about what's going on in business right now here in Wales. So today, I've invited someone I respect and have worked with and got to know over the last 12 months, Liam Betsworth. Liam, thank you very much for joining me on this.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for the invite.
Do you want to give them an overview of your role, your current role, but also how you've been involved in the tech scene in Wales?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, why don't I start at the beginning? So, again, thanks for inviting me along. My name's Liam Betsworth. I've been a CTO for quite a number of years now in the Welsh tech scene. Let's take a step before even that. I mean, so I've always been interested in technology. I think I knew from a young age that I wanted to be a software developer. I was always in awe of people who could develop games and websites and things like that. It's like I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. So I did computer science at university, just like the normal kind of pathway at the time for anyone else. And this is where things get really interesting, right? So I'm quite a passionate Welsh person, right? I'm from Wales, and
Nice.
when I came to leave university, there weren't any jobs in South Wales for people who were developers, right? I mean, like my only options really were to go to Bristol or London or further afield. There weren't very many options in South Wales, so an interesting opportunity came up for me. I got offered a PhD in university in Swansea, which was brilliant. Got to travel the world, got to learn loads of interesting things and work with interesting R&D teams. And I feel like that really set me up for the future then. My PhD was focused on user experience design and trying to understand how do people use computers? Like how do we build new kinds of technologies? How do we interact with them? And that got me really interested in this space, I guess, between product and engineering. Like there's the how you build things, but there's also like the why you build things, and what does it even mean to be a person, to be using those technologies. So deep kind of grounding in technology there, and then from there, had a number of different positions over the years of working with like agencies and working in government and defense and things like that. And then I up to my previous position before this one, I got offered a really interesting opportunity where I was actually doing some contracting work, and it was with AMPLYFI at the time. So AMPLYFI, a tech company from Wales, basically contracting for AMPLYFI. And I was looking at the tech that they were building, and I was thinking, this is amazing. This is 2017 now, right? I mean, this is 10 years ago now. It's like such a long time ago. But 2017, and looking at the tech and thinking, wow, like this is cool. Like AI, machine learning, processing data, and thinking, I'd love to work for these guys. I'd love to be here full time working on this. And again, I feel like I got super lucky with that. Spoke with the CEO at the time, Chris Ganji, and he said, like, you have to come work for us. Like, we can see you can do really cool things, and we're doing cool things. Come and work with us. And it wasn't a hard decision, to be honest. I wasn't unhappy doing what I was doing before. I was like, this is amazing. I have to jump on this rocket ship. And it feels like, the next 8 years were a complete blast, really. Got to work on some incredibly interesting projects with enterprise customers, building intelligence products and shipping them across the globe. And I got to be the poster boy for UK trade. I've been on posters all across the UK and everything. So it's been a whirlwind journey, to be honest, over the last 8 years. But I think, so I guess all of that hopefully sets me up to be a good person to talk about
absolutely
the current state of technology. But yeah, where am I at right now? Well, I guess over the last few months, I realized that tech is changing really quickly. We all realize, right, that like AI is changing the industry massively. And I guess I saw that as an opportunity for like to find my purpose again, to find my direction. I was like, I have to jump on this. I have to make something of this opportunity, of this gold rush right now. And I was thinking, as a proud Welsh person, I want to build Welsh technology. I want to build things in Wales and show that Wales can build interesting tech. And I thought, right, well, now that it's getting easier to build things and AI can help me, why don't I start my own company or companies, right? I mean, like, well, we'll get onto this. I think we'll probably start talking about this, but it's becoming so easy to build tech now, and everything's so assisted that I can take on the role of multiple people, and I can do multiple things. Maybe I can start multiple companies, and that to me was super interesting. I thought, wow, yeah, wouldn't it be cool to own multiple companies and to be in lots of different places working on interesting different things. So yeah, that's where I'm currently at. I've just started my venture studio, Cray Labs, over the last few months.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of the venture studio is literally to build interesting tech companies here in Wales. And if they're interesting enough, spin them out, look for investment, and try and grow those companies.
That's so exciting and really, really good and needed in Wales, if I'm honest, from years of experience. You use the term gold rush then. That to me is a really interesting term, because some of the things I hear is hype. That's a term I hear a lot at the moment with AI. Yeah. But then also I hear daily how the role of a developer is changing in AI. So as a person of industry, and you've probably seen this for years now, not just this year, where do you think we are with AI in the tech space and how it affects the tech industry?
Sure. So, yeah, no, it's a good question. There definitely is a lot of hype around this at the moment. I'm not going to lie. People keep on saying, when's the bubble going to burst? Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because, there's a lot of stuff that's overhyped, and maybe there is a little bit of a bubble, but I don't think that AI is going away. Like, I'm using this day to day in my job, and I'm not going to be the person to say, oh, AI can solve all your problems, and it can, you can spin up an agent team who will do all of your jobs for you, and you don't need to hire people anymore. That's not true. We're not there yet. Yeah. But genuinely, we are in a position where myself now as a founder, perhaps to get from 0 to 1 before, I might have had to have hired 2, 3, 4, 5 people to have a base team. Whereas now I feel I have the tools available to me where I don't need to hire those people as early on, right? I mean, I can do some of the legals, I can do some of the operation stuff, I can do some of the marketing. I couldn't have done all those things before unless I had access to these tools. So, like, not just as developers, it feels like the role of everyone who's an information worker, to be honest, is changing. But I mean, honestly, right, especially for developers are right at the coalface right now. It feels like, I know I'm talking about like gold mine and coal rush and things like that, but genuinely,
this is interesting though, because I've heard a lot of things about developers in terms of AI. But
so like honestly, right, being at the coalface, you get to see the tech that other people are not going to see maybe for the next 6 months or the next year. And so over the last few months, the technology for helping developers has become so good that it has changed development beyond anything that we've previously recognized. It's completely different. And when I look at this, I think this isn't just going to affect development. This is absolutely going to affect other industries as well. And again, I'm not saying everything here is perfect and that it can do everything for anyone, but honestly, if you'd seen how good this technology is and what it can do, like having been in this industry for 15 years, I'm incredibly impressed at what it can do and where we're currently at.
It's brilliant. And I hear this a lot. But I think that's scary, no? Like, ultimately, in terms of the jobs market, what it means for junior developers, does the role of a mid-engineer and a senior engineer change then? Only this week, I heard a candidate say to me that they don't code that much anymore. They become prompt checkers. So they have the boilerplate and then they're checking that. that's exponential change, because ultimately in university you'd have been taught the basics, the syntax, all the sort of the theory, and people would be able to sort of whiteboard that and get that down on a piece of paper. Where's all that go?
Yeah, no, you raise a good point. So, it seems absolutely unfathomable that somebody who is a software engineer, developer, programmer could not write code.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely possible now. It genuinely is possible. Yeah. And okay, why is that possible? Well, I know I've been saying that the coding tools are getting better and better, but the way that these tools work now is that they require you to, if you've used ChatGPT, like most people have, they require you to prompt them, right? To ask them to do something, these coding tools. And the real value here now becomes, okay, well, if it can write all the code for me, then like, why do I need to know code anymore? Of course, right? I might have to verify what it's done, but I don't actually have to know how to write anything from scratch anymore. It shifts from having to be able to almost like speak a language to just being able to understand a language, just to verify that something is correct. And so you're exactly right. Okay, so you go to university, you learn a lot of these skills around the theory of things and why things are the way they are and how you should build things. But really interestingly, and maybe this is a bit of a misconception, right, from people who haven't done computer science or similar degree at university, only 5% of what I learned at university was about programming. That might sound insane to somebody who didn't do that, right? Yeah. But actually, 95% of it was all about architecture, high-performance computing, algorithms, mathematics. And it's like you're learning about computation and like how, just like if an engineer went to university, right, like to build bridges, you'd learn about like, well, what makes something structurally sound? Like how can I build things well? Yeah. So that's what they're really teaching you, I guess, in university, especially if you do a computer science degree. They're teaching you more about the fundamentals of computing, of why things are the way they are and how to get the most out of it. And I think if you've got that in your back pocket, then you're incredibly valuable right now, because sure, right, the machine can code everything for you, but you still need to know what to ask it for. You still need to make good decisions and tasteful judgment up front. The machine is never going to decide how to build a system that can scale to 1 million people. Yeah. I have to prompt it in the right way. I have to know some good architectures myself of how we might be able to achieve that. So yeah, I mean, it completely changes the dynamic, right? From maybe it would have taken me a long time to think about this up front, to formulate my thoughts, to then blueprint it and architect the whole thing out. Now I can go from that to that idea to solution in minutes compared to weeks before.
That's a really interesting point. And I hear that a lot from industry. But we should be harnessing that, though, in terms of we shouldn't just get the agents to write all the code. There should be some thinking behind what we do. And then I suppose prompt engineering becomes really important. So companies should be personally, I think companies should be investing more in training in prompt engineering and making sure that the code is matching the requirements, because everyone tells me that's the key that an agent can't do. That's the skill of the person.
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
No. This is really interesting, right? So, yeah, I think you still have to have an understanding of what it is you want to achieve up front and give it some good direction. But honestly, right, the tools are becoming so good now that you can get an agent to become the QA for what you've written. So as long as you give it a good enough input to begin with and explain exactly what you want to do, why you want to do it, how it should do it, it can check its own homework out the other side. And like the first time I saw this working, it blew my mind. I was thinking, like, wow. Like, I mean, there are tools now that are so good. They can automatically like quality assure things. They can penetration test things. These are the tasks where you'd pay somebody thousands of pounds to do this work before, right? And now I have a team of agents that can help me achieve that. So I agree with you, right? You need to know how to prompt it to do the right things, but maybe the skill here is less about how to write good prompts, and just again, it's more about the fundamentals of understanding like good architecture, good high performance principles, or good infrastructure principles. And if you know that, right, we all know how to write English. We all know how to converse. As long as you can converse your ideas, then you're on to a winner. Like people talk about becoming a 10x or 100x developer or whatever. Do I believe that? In some circumstances, for sure, yeah. Like I've seen productivity gains where I myself, something that would have taken me weeks before, I can now do in a day, or I can do in a few hours or something. So those productivity gains absolutely exist. But then that leads to other problems, right? Of, great, well, what if I can do 10x more or 100x more now? Should I just work 100? Like, should I have 100 times more outputs? Should I be working that hard all the way through the day? And then I've got to review everything that's been created then. Like, how am I going to review this 100x output from this machine? It becomes almost impossible to review everything, and that in itself is a problem.
I think what a brilliant way to, like, one of my points that I heard a couple of weeks ago, talking to a guy in the gym, burnout.
Yeah.
So you've just mentioned 100x, or like creating more work or more output. What's the knock-on effect? And I think I read a couple of weeks ago that burnout in tech is a real thing now. There's a lot of, someone said to me, wearing multiple hats. You must have heard that. So the devs, the DevOps, and the security all merging as one. AI can give us more efficiency, but is the knock-on effect negative in terms of merging these roles and people having to do more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're still in the early stages of understanding this, but it's something that I've witnessed as well. Like tech burnout over the last few years, especially the last 5 years. Of course, right, we all went through COVID and that affected more than just developers. But with the advent of these large language models now in AI, everything, I guess you are expected to do more and you are expected to take on more roles and achieve more. And coming to the end of my last job, I was feeling really burnt out. I was feeling burnt out because I was focused on trying to do so many different things and achieve so much and stay ahead of the game. Because look, we're talking about task-based outputs here, but like strategically as a company, I have to try and stay ahead of the game as well. And everybody's delivering more. Everybody's developing more. The market is flooded with products. And that comes with its own mental battle then of, like, how do I remain competitive? Do I have to work harder? Do I have to put more time in? And there's this is huge right now. I know you put out a post on LinkedIn recently, right? Like, who wants to talk about burnout? And you had a massive response from that.
Yeah.
It's on everybody's minds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the term I hear all the time is we've just got to put out the fire. In product, in software. And surely that's been like that forever. Ultimately, you work, like I say to my wife, you work in tech, you're going to have to fix the problem. But from what you've seen, is it starting to rear its head in terms of there's a lot more of that and people feel under more pressure to get it back online or whatever the term is?
It's almost like there are different kinds of burnout, right? And like, I think that some of the burnout that we're seeing at the moment is, sure, there are fires to be put out all the time. This has always been the case, right? But like, maybe some of the, I'm not claiming that I'm burnt out right now, but the way that I see things going, some of the burnout that I'm seeing now is a little bit different. It's more like, the best way I can describe this is, with AI, it feels like I can do anything. Yeah. But I can't do everything.
It's a brilliant, spot on.
Yeah, but it almost entices you to want to be able to do everything and to try to do everything. And I had a really good conversation with someone the other day. We were talking about, like, think of a human like an LLM, right? And so with LLMs, you've got the size of the model. So like the size of the model is like how intelligent the model is, how much knowledge it has. Think of every LLM has a context window, and the context window is like how many prompts can I put into it before it forgets what I told it, and that's like, you know, like your attention or like your emotional intelligence or like your ability to like read and it just feels like, the reason I say that is because when I was having this discussion with someone, we were saying like it almost feels like our context is being overloaded at the moment. Like when you think of it in terms of LLMs, like I can't take any more context. I've got so much going on. I'm trying to do so many things, jumping between different tasks. And look, right, this isn't a new problem. Again, that's always been the case, but it's more alluring than ever just to think, but I can do everything. But you can't. And like, I mean, this is a really obvious thing to say as well, but if you try and do everything, you won't do anything well because you won't spend much time focusing on an individual thing.
Yeah, well said. And I think you were saying you were a CTO and a leader. How do you create the right environment to stop or minimize burnout for engineers? that's almost like the magic cure. But from your point of view, what sort of things would you put in place?
I think one of the principles I've always led my teams by is just like servant leadership and leading with vulnerability. So I'm really honest and authentic with my teams, and I know, like, I'm not trying to big myself up. Maybe this requires some kind of emotional intelligence, right? To read your team and to understand them, and to like how are they currently feeling, and should I cut them some slack? And it's just being human, right? It's like you can't be hard and task focused and pushing people all the time to try and achieve things. You have to just accept at the end of the day, people are people. They have limitations and they have things going on, and just being fair with them and letting them step back when they need to. And I guess that's one of the things I've really appreciated now running my own company, is that I can afford myself that flexibility. Like sometimes I just need to take a break myself and I need to step back, and I'll go out and I'll take the dog for a walk. And it just sounds like such an obvious thing, right? To like take a little bit of time out. But just offering people things like that, and just giving people time away from work and from the task. But again, right, as a founder, you almost make yourself feel guilty for that sometimes. So it's like, it's so hard. I want to put myself in the best mental place that I can, but I also feel guilty sometimes, thinking, well, if I want to be competitive in this industry, I have to work all the time, and I can't take time off.
Yeah, 100%. I think the other thing is, and this is probably for another day, what helped post-COVID was the working from home or hybrid working. So it allowed you to get that balance. That's shifting now as well. So there's a lot of businesses calling people back into the office, some with good reason, some not, somewhat from what I've heard. But that would play into the burnout question as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, this is a whole topic. We could talk about this for another hour, I'm sure. But it feels like the whole dynamic of work has shifted since COVID. Like we've all felt it, right? And we're definitely more flexibility, being able to work from home. If you work on a computer, I'm sure it's not too hard to work from home. But I think how people even feel about their jobs has changed. And this is one of the things I think employers are quite worried about, is that if people work from home, work almost becomes quite transactional then. If I'm not building those personal relationships by going to the office, then I just have a job, right? I could walk away from this at any point. I'll just go and get another job online tomorrow. And people worry about that for sure, employers. And I guess, the question is, right, if you're going to have this new hybrid world, how do you maintain that sense of, I hate to say it sounds really cliche, but like culture in the company, right?
Identity.
Identity, right? It's 100%. Like a belonging to the company, or feeling like you're a part of something. And maybe we've lost a little bit of that. And some of my best memories come from that, of having that shared sense of identity and purpose in a company. And
I totally agree. You mentioned, obviously, you were CTO at AMPLYFI.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, I had coffee with a guy, and he said the role of a CTO is changing as well. So AI, we've talked about. We've talked about people management, I suppose, in terms of burnout. But he said that the line, there are blurred lines now between a CEO and a CTO. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Again, maybe it feels like this has been AI enabled again, right? Because starting my own companies, I am almost certainly taking on a shared kind of CEO, CTO role in some of those companies. And could I have done that before? Without the tools that I have now, probably not. I couldn't have balanced all of those priorities and responsibilities. But now with AI, I can.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to carry. It's a lot being ultimately technically responsible for your company and responsible for the operations and the running of the company. And again, is that healthy? I'm not sure. Maybe that leads to burnout as well, right? Of just being overly responsible for these things. It can be done. Should it be done? Maybe it's not sustainable long term.
Yeah, but I was just listening to what you were saying. So let's say the tools look after themselves. So the technical element is not as important as it once was. And you know a lot more than me about the CTO's roles and responsibilities. But does the CTO have a much bigger role now in terms of like people management and strategic planning than they did before, because the tool set looks after itself? Or is that not right?
It depends really on what stage you're at as a company, because look, if you're an early stage startup as a CTO, you're going to be much more involved. You're going to be You're going to be architecting things, you're going to be developing them yourself, you're going to be thinking about the future tech strategy of the company. But then as you go through these different stages of the company, the CTO role changes massively. Like you need to become the person that the company needs you to be. And I've been through all of those different roles, and from being the developer all the way to being someone who is completely hands off the code and just very strategic and people managing, and even giving away the people managing at some point to a head of engineering or a VP of engineering. So I don't know. I mean, like the CTO role has always been fairly flexible.
I keep hearing that role is changing, and it isn't what it once was. But you raise a really good point. It depends on the business you work in, the size, the scale, the team size. But I don't know. I think from what I'm hearing, and we keep using those two letters, don't we? AI is going to change the role of someone most senior in technology.
Yeah, from the top to the bottom, like it changes everybody's roles. And one of the things that you touched on earlier was the junior roles, right? We've not even really spoken about that, but there is a real worry, and I'm sure many people have heard this, that where do the next juniors come from? If AI is replacing the role of a junior developer, because now I can give the AI the boilerplate tasks, and can you do this API fix for me or this or that, and like I said, right, I'm reluctant to hire someone as soon as I would have before. Where will the next juniors come from if the only people, well, let's say like theoretically, the only people who can add value are the seniors who know how to architect things and how to know how to tell the AI what to do? That is a real worry, and I don't really have an answer for that. I've heard some good points from people saying, well, if you're really struggling to get hired, maybe the best way to prove your worth is to start your own company, like to start your own idea, to show how good you are, to sell yourself basically to someone else, and maybe even to be acqui-hired, to be brought into another company to say, right, you've got a great idea, a great product, we'd love for you to come work for us and incorporate what you've. But I get that option is not available to everyone, right? I mean,
it's
look,
tough. Yeah.
As a junior, you're not going to have much money. You probably don't have many savings or anything. It really is tough, and I don't have a good answer for that.
Do you know what? I've absolutely loved this. I have these conversations with people all the time. I've done this for 20 years, ultimately. I just had an idea. As you're talking throughout that, I'm taking it all in. I'm thinking, do you know what? It would be really good if you and I did this as a podcast. We'll do, 8 episodes. Mm-hmm. We'll bring in industry leaders. So I know a lot of people in industry. You know a lot of people. You probably know a lot more technical people, engineers. We'll create some subjects and we'll run a series and we'll run the podcast together. What do you think?
Let's do it. Yeah, no,
I think it'd be a real value to people in Wales.
I agree. Like honestly, yeah, we could be talking here for hours, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
These are pretty deep topics, and I think there are so many things that are affecting people right now, and I think people are really struggling to navigate this time, and looking for answers or looking for experience from other people who are experiencing this as well. Or you're looking for answers from people who are experiencing this. Yeah, let's do it.
And we'll bring people in that we know that are going through these exact issues and see what their opinion is.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can provide some real value to our audience.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's do it.
Good man. All right, thank you very much for today. Much appreciated.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cheers, Dave.
No worries.
Thank you.